once every 2 weeks, basically. And the prompts will be, as I mentioned, a combination of relationship building and skill building. Um, you'll also meet with your mentors every quarter. So if you are in the same area, then you are highly encouraged to meet with your mentor in person. If they're not in your same area, then you are encouraged to use either Skype or FaceTime or GChat or whatever technology you would like so that you can video chat with each other. For those of you who meet in town, I think a question I've gotten before is sort of where do you meet? That's really up to you and your mentor. So you guys decide, maybe you want to show them around your campus, maybe they want to invite you to their workplace. Maybe you just want to relax and go have a frozen yogurt. It's really up to you and your mentor to decide how you want to use that time. You just need to make sure that you meet once a quarter. And then the other thing we'll ask you to do are evaluations. I can't stress enough how much we truly, truly value your opinion and your feedback. And I can't stress enough how much at HSF we're all about process improvement and constantly thinking about how we can make things better. And so your feedback is what helps us do that. So you'll get 3 surveys a year, one sort of at the beginning, one in the middle, and then one at the very end of the school year, all just to sort of get a sense of how your mentor relationship is going, and sort of how we can continue to make the program better year after year after year. So here's just an idea of what that timeline looks like. So we sort of, mentors and mentees, the recruitment goes on all year long. So you guys, people can sign up for the program at any time. And then the email communication and quarterly meetings is also ongoing. So you'll be paired up with your mentor now, and you guys will stay together for as long as you'd like to stay together. Sort of the minimum commitment is 1 academic year, so 1 school year. So at the very least, you'll be together with them with 1 year. But if it's a great relationship, you want to continue to nurture that relationship. As I said, Lydia and I, she's been my mentor for 10 years now. So you're welcome to stay in the program and continue to communicate that way. So as I mentioned, people can sign up, students and mentors, throughout the year, but the screening, the training, and the matching happens twice a year. So we do it now in the fall, and then we go through this process again one more time in early spring, so January through February, so early spring semester. So students, as I said, can sign up at any time, but we kind of need sort of a critical mass of students and critical mass of mentors to be able to make good matches. And so we kind of build up the bank of applicants, and then we go and make the matches twice a year. So that's sort of the big overview of what the program is, sort of what the requirements are, what we hope you guys will get out of the program. So the next part, I'm going to go into sort of more details in terms of how to log into the system and more sort of technical things like that. But do we have any questions at this point?
So a good question came up. Can we get in contact with our mentor besides the prompts? So advice on interviews and etc.
Okay, and that question came from?
That question came from
Daniela. Okay, thank you for your question, Daniela. So yes, you are. So we have sort of this curriculum to help you, because there's certain things we want you to sort of learn, and we want to help you guys sort of establish that relationship with each other. But absolutely, if you have any other questions, that's what your mentor is there for. So you're encouraged to ask them, those questions. I encourage you to do it via the iMentor platform, and I'll talk a little bit later about why that's important. But absolutely, yes. And the mentors were also told that during the training, that there's this set curriculum, but that students are encouraged to ask them questions, and they're also encouraged to ask you questions. So they're also there for any other sort of support that you need. Anything else?
How do I find out about more programs in my community?
About more programs in your community? Okay, that came from Tech Technology. Manuel, thank you for your question. To answer that, so a really good way just to stay connected to what's going on is when you sign up for MyHSF, you can sign up for the Scholar newsletter. So if you haven't already done that, I would log back into your MyHSF profile and check that you would like to receive the Scholar newsletter, because we put sort of events and volunteer opportunities on that page. There's also our events page on our website that lists, so if we're doing a College 101, for example, the dates and the cities will be on that website as well. And lastly, you can just email me. Say, hey, I live in wherever you live. Is there anything going on in my area? And I can let you know if we have anything in the pipeline and, if we need volunteers or those sorts of things. But
sign up for our newsletters.
Yeah, Alex does our newsletter, so sign up because she works really hard on them. They're really good. And that has a lot of really, really useful information, not just volunteer opportunities, but then also sort of scholarship opportunities, internship opportunities. There's a lot of good stuff that comes our way because they know our scholars are sort of the top of Latino students in college today, and so they want to recruit you for a lot of different things, and so we get a lot of information of really great programs, really great internship opportunities, and the newsletter is how we get a lot of that information out there. So if you're not already signed up, make sure you go to your MyHSF profile and sign up. If you're interested in volunteering, sign up for check the box that says help at events or volunteer, and then make sure you check the box that says get the newsletter. Those are both really, really good sources of information.
Maxwell asked, what is the chance of receiving a mentor that has a background in a career that we're pursuing as the first choice?
Okay. So I would say it's hard to say a specific number in terms of a chance. So I would say, when you filled out your intake form, you express sort of what career you're interested in. If that's really important to you, I would suggest you shoot me an email, and I will do my very, very best. But it sort of really just depends on sort of how many students signed up that have an interest in that field, and how many mentors signed up that have an interest in that field, and where there is a match. And then also if there's other things you have in common in addition to, so maybe you have the same career, but you also sort of you don't share the same personal experiences or interests or characteristics, and so we want to find you the best match possible. And sometimes that means that it's somebody in your career, and sometimes it means that maybe it's not somebody in your specific career, but you have all of these other shared experiences that you can talk about. But if that's something that is like very important to you, I know when you filled out the intake form, there's a box that says, is there anything else we should know? And so you can note that in there. So I can't guarantee that that'll be the case, but I can guarantee that we will do our very best, to make that happen if that's something that's very important to you. And same goes to everybody. If there's sort of something in particular that you would find really helpful or that you're looking for in a mentor, let us know, and we will do our very best. But I will also say to keep an open mind because, oftentimes, as I mentioned, Lydia and I, our career paths went in very different directions, but she's still, as I said, one of my nearest and dearest mentors, and is still extremely helpful, to me, even though our careers aren't really related anymore. I went education, and Lydia's still, very much a successful businesswoman, right? And so they're different, but there's a lot we can still talk about, and there's a lot we can still learn from each other about. Any more questions? Are we good? Okay, awesome. So now let's get into a few more of the details. Actually, do we have a poll question ready for this one? No? We didn't. Okay. So some of you have seen this already. Some of you have not. Hopefully, most of you have. By now, you should have completed your mentor intake form. So if you haven't, make sure you do that. Actually, I would suggest as soon as you get off the webinar today, going in and doing it. Because this is what signals to me that you really, truly are interested in being in the program. So once you complete this, then I consider you, ready to be matched with the mentor, basically. So if you haven't already done it, go to hsf.imentorinteractive.org, and you'll click here under, if you haven't done this already, not registered yet, and click Mentee. And that'll take you to the Mentee intake form, and it'll ask you a series of questions that'll help us do the matching. It should take you about 20 to 30 minutes to complete that form. And then the second thing you have to do is just attend the Mentee training, which you're all here today, so you can check that off your box. So for you, it's really simple. The mentors have a third step that they have to do, but for you, really, it's just about completing that form and then attending the training so that you make sure you have all the information to be in the program and to be a good mentee in the program. So once you have that, once I pair you up, you'll have access to this. So you'll go back to hsf.imentorinteractive. This time you'll go up to member sign-in since you'll already have your membership, and you'll use the same username and password that you used to do your mentor intake form originally. And that will then take you to your homepage, where it will look like this. This is your email homepage. So you'll see here all of your messages that have come in. And so when you're ready to write an email, you'll click here, compose, and then it'll take you to a screen that looks like this. Very similar to lots of the sort of email systems that we used. A couple of things that I wanted to just point out that are a little bit different is, so as I mentioned, you'll have a writing prompt every 2 weeks, right? And so that prompt will be up here. So you'll be able to preview the prompt here, and then in this box, and then to see the full prompt, you'll have to click here where it says see full prompt. If you'd like to access any of the prompts from previous sessions, you can click here in the table of contents, and that'll pull up all of the old prompts as well. So a lot of folks find helpful to do is taking this prompt here, copying and pasting it into the body of your email, and then you can respond to the questions that way. You don't have to, but it's just a tip that lots of our users have found helpful. It also allows you to do attachments. So let's say you guys are talking about resumes, you want to send your mentor a copy of your resume, or you want to send your mentor a picture of where you grew up, anything like that, you can do attachments. And then I wanted to point out the subject line here because that doesn't auto fill in for you. So you'll have to come up with, you'll have to include a subject line. And often people forget to do that and they try to send. So sometimes we get calls and say, oh, my thing won't send. Most of the time it's because they forgot to put in a subject line. So just remember to do that when you're writing your emails. So that's what it looks like basically. So that's iMentor. That's what the email system looks like. And I just want to really encourage you to keep your communication on the platform as much as possible. There's a few reasons for that. One is that helps us measure success, right? So I can go in and see, 80% of mentors and 85% of students have responded to the prompt that week. So that'll help me gauge maybe that was a good prompt, or maybe, if there was 1 week or one session that participation wasn't as high, then maybe I can look for trends, or maybe, it's finals time, or maybe that prompt, needs a little bit of work or things like that. So that'll just help us gauge the success of the program, and it helps us be proactive in helping you with your communication. So I can go in and see, let's say only 70% of mentors responded to that session. So then I can go and look at the 30% that haven't and send them a reminder to, hey, don't forget, to respond to your mentee this week, or those sorts of things. Or likewise with you, if you forget, if you have a test that week and you just haven't gotten to your emails yet, that'll allow me to know, hey, maybe Alex hasn't responded yet. Let me give her a call and see what's going on, with her this week. So maybe if it's that she's just busy, then it's just a little reminder. If it's that there's something going on and she needs some support, then that phone call might be really helpful for her. So it helps us do those sorts of things. And so I know it's sometimes easier to just go onto your phone, and maybe respond directly from your phone or things like that. But I think you'll see later, we're going to actually look at a sample prompt that it's not really designed to, be able to respond to sort of in, 2 or 3 minutes on your phone. They're really, we're really going for quality versus quantity here. And so it's only, the good news is that it's only 1 email every 2 weeks, right? So it should be, fairly easy to fit into your schedule to respond to those emails, right? But we want it to be very sort of quality interaction where that you're putting some thought into your answers. And so that generally takes, I would suggest really sitting down in front of a desktop or a laptop, and thinking about your answers, and doing a really well thought out email. And as I said, so you'll have this guided email curriculum that's a combination of relationship and skill building, and it's also relevant to your year in college. So I saw a little question that came through, by when are the prompts due? So you'll have a 2-week window to respond. So you'll get the email at the beginning of that 2-week period. And the way it's designed is that you should respond first. So there isn't a hard deadline, but what I would suggest is that within a week of getting that email that you respond. And then that way you give your mentor a week to respond to their email. But it's important that you respond as soon as possible within that first week, because they're designed that, mentee responds first and then mentor responds. So sometimes their prompts will cue them to respond to something you said in your email. And so if you don't respond, your mentor might have a hard time doing their prompts because it's dependent on something that you said. So does that answer your question, Monica? So generally, like I said, no hard due date. The prompt will be open during that 2-week window, but I highly, highly recommend that you respond during that first week. Okay, so this is what a prompt might look like. This is something a mentor might get. And so as you can see, it's kind of lengthy, but again, we're going for quality versus quantity here, right? So we want, to really learn a lot from about each other during these emails. And so this is really kind of a good example of what they'll look like. So most of the time you'll have sort of an introductory paragraph. So this is an example of one of those more relationship building ones. So this one is one that you might get sort of towards the beginning of your relationship with your mentor, and it's sort of the tip for the mentor in this case. Oh, sorry, that's the mentee one. We'll look at a mentee one next. It's just encouraging them to have fun and be themselves. And in this first paragraph, you see it's asking them to introduce themselves to you, your name, where you grew up, where they grew up, why they chose to volunteer for the program, etc. Paragraph 2 then is asking them, so here's a perfect example. It says, keep the conversation going by responding to what your mentee shared. So as I said, it's designed for you, the mentee, to respond first. So that's why it's so important that you respond, as soon as possible, preferably within that first week, so that they can kind of feed off of what you said. So it's asking, your mentor to thank you for sharing. It's asking them to comment on, what impression they have after reading that email. What did your mentee share that you want to know more about, et cetera, et cetera. And then the third paragraph is just kind of more fun, get to know you activity. So it's asking your mentor to share, 3 words that best describe me are, if I could travel to any place in the world, it would be. And by the way, the mentee prompt to this one is also ask them to share, also ask you to share those sorts of things. So this is one that's fun, get to know you conversation. I think we have a question. One more. How informal can we be when we write the email? I think it's I would encourage you to use full sentences and full words. So like avoid the BRBs and the TTYLs and the LOLs or those sorts of things. So I would encourage you to use sort of full sentences, but it's also not sort of an academic paper, right? It's an opportunity for you guys to get to know each other, and to have fun with it. So I really just would, kind of, so I encourage you to just be yourself, you know, but be articulate and be, so that your mentors can understand what you're saying. And to not be too brief. So be yourself, be open. And so if you like to joke around, feel free to joke around a little. That's okay. Does that make sense? I'm waiting for the response, but smiley faces are good. So yeah, and then also you'll get a sense too, sort of how your mentor responds to you as well. So kind of, model also what your mentor does. But no, I encourage you, exclamation points, smiley faces, those are good. Anything that sort of gives positive encouragement, because your mentors might also be a little nervous about sort of establishing the relationship with you as well. It's new, right? You're both new to this relationship. So yeah, any of those little positive things you can put in there are welcome. Like I said, it's not an academic paper. It doesn't have to be super formal academic tone. But you do want to, help your mentor understand where you're coming from, and be able to read your email with ease. So, definitely check for grammar, spelling checks, just because, it's annoying to get emails with those things. Remember that they can't see you or your nonverbal communication. So I do think things like smiley faces are helpful, in those cases. And as I said, use full words, not TTYL, because some mentors might know what that means, others might not. So. Okay, so here is a sample prompt that you would get as a mentee. And this one's more one of those that I would put more in the skill building category, right? So this one's asking you to think about your major, and your interests and your passions, right? So there's the introductory paragraph. So paragraph 1 is asking you to respond to your mentor's last email, answer any questions, ask any questions. Paragraph 2 is asking you to think about what you're passionate about. It's asking you to think back to when you were younger, and if you look here at the bullets, it's asking you, what in your life is most important to you, and describe the importance, and its impact on your life, right? And then the next bullet, you'll is asking you to describe how your goals are connected to what's important to you, right? So not just thinking about what's important, but then how are you connecting that to your goals? And then how are you connecting that to to your actions? So for example, it says, are you working particularly hard in a certain class so that you can be better prepared for your major? Are you applying for an internship in a field that is related to what's important to you? So this is an opportunity for you to kind of reflect and to think about, your passions and your goals and the actions you're taking, and if all of those are connected, and a chance for you to talk to your mentors about maybe how you can make that connection a little stronger. And then paragraph 3 in this case is pretty simple. It's just asking you to sign off. So typically that's what it'll look like. You'll have sort of an introductory paragraph kind of setting up the topic for that session, and then it'll guide you through your next 3 paragraphs. So this is what I was saying earlier. This is something that you could do on your phone if you wanted to, but I really, really want to stress the importance of using the iMentor platform and communicating that way, so that we can report on that and be aware of it and be helpful. And then also, as I said, these emails, they're lengthier, and we want you to really think about your responses. And this one's asking you to really take some time to reflect on some things. And so I do encourage you, to log into the system, and to, sit down and really think about your responses and really think about the things that your mentors are sharing with you. Okay. Do we have any questions? Are we good? Okay. Awesome. Thank you, Alex. So throughout this process, you'll have your mentors, but you'll also have, us here in the office as program coordinators supporting you. So anytime you need advice or guidance, let us know. We'll send you your biweekly emails with your updates. We'll send you reminders to communicate with your mentors. And please don't take that as me scolding you. It's I know things get crazy here at the office sometimes, and I remember what it was like to be an undergraduate student, and just last year I was a graduate student, so I know how hectic the student schedule can get. And so we all forget from time to time. I hope that you don't. I really encourage you to sort of make this a priority, and be respectful of the time that your mentors are putting into this, and be open to how valuable these relationships can be when you put in the time. So I'm going to ask all of you that you do take this seriously and you put in the time. But when things get crazy and you forget, I'll be there to help remind you. And then we'll also call you on occasion just to discuss your match's progress. And so again, that's not another one of those you're in trouble calls. That's just hey, we're just checking in. We want to know how things are going. And that's just a part of the program. So you may get a call, once or twice a year from me, just to check in. So we encourage you to ask questions. I encourage you to check in with us. And then I highly, highly encourage you to respond to the surveys, because like I said, we really do value your opinion and we take that seriously. And you guys are all new to the program this year, but are continuing, the students that have been in the program before and are continuing in the program already have noticed, some changes from last year's program based on their feedback. So we do value that. We do take it into consideration. And so I really do highly encourage you to respond to the surveys when you do get those. Okay. Awesome. Actually, let me go back one more. So any questions up to this point? I'm going to pause one more time. I don't see anything coming in on the chat. Everybody doing good? Can I get an exclamation point or a yes on the chat? Awesome. Okay, good. I appreciate the feedback. I love it. Okay. So this last part, we're just going to actually, this is our last activity, and we're just gonna ask you to think about what do you think you can do to get the most out of this program and your relationship with your mentor. So what are sort of some actions you can take, some qualities, characteristics you can display, things of those nature. What are some things you think you can do to help get the most out of this program and relationship with your mentor? And I would encourage you to share those on, take some time to reflect, take a minute or two, and then share those on the chat for us. Okay. Okay, some of these are coming in. So be honest was a suggestion from Adriana, which is good because the more open and honest you are, the more open and honest your mentor will be, right? Thank you, Adriana, for sharing that. And the more helpful, yes. From Maxwell, make sure to keep in contact and let them know the problems and successes you are having. Great suggestion, Maxwell. Certainly, if there's problems, reach out to them for support. That's what they're there for. But then also your successes, they want to celebrate those with you as well. So, sometimes maybe you don't need help with certain things, you're doing fine. And, they want to know that too, that you're having a good day. They want to know when you're having a bad day, they want to know when you're having a good day. So share both of those. Thank you. Um, let's see. Prepare questions to ask during meetings. Absolutely. You see them once a quarter, and so thinking ahead about that time and what you want to get out of that time is certainly helpful. And that's up to you. If you have specific questions that you want some advice or guidance on, certainly have those ready. If all you want to do is just relax and hang out and have some fun and get to know them, that's okay too. That's your time to do whatever you like that with. But if there are certain things that you really do want to sort of have a conversation about, it's good to think about those ahead of time. So great suggestion. Um, so I'm just gonna kind of randomly pick some of these because we have a lot coming in. So thank you. From Veronica, just be myself and respond as fully as possible to the prompts. Also ask a lot of questions if I need advice on something, and how their advice has helped. Great. I think that responding sort of fully is good, honestly and openly and fully. And then also, I really like your suggestion about sharing how their advice has helped. So not just taking the advice, but saying, hey, actually, that suggestion you gave me last week was really good. I actually went and I did X, Y, and Z as a result of it, and this is what happened. That's great advice. Um, from I don't know who this is. It's one of the the mentee. Is that Adriana? I don't know. Okay, one of the people that signed in as mentor matches says communicate with them often and follow up, even though there is no need, just to feed the relationship. Yeah, absolutely. You don't have to have a question. You can just chit chat with them. That's why they signed up. They want to have this relationship with you. So great. Just be true to yourself and express your passions. These are all great suggestions. So I think you guys are really on point with what we're hoping you'll do with this program and where we're hoping you'll take it. And so I'm really excited to see your responses. It's good. I think you guys are going to be really great mentees and have great relationships with your mentor. So here's a few tips. You guys had great suggestions, and I think you've already covered a lot of these. But the first I would say is take initiative, and so I think if you guys already alluded to that. So think about sort of driving the relationship and you're responding. And if you have a question, don't waiting until your mentor asks you a question. You can be the first to communicate and ask the questions. You can ask your mentor questions. If there's something about yourself that you feel is important to share for them to know that isn't in the prompt or they haven't asked you yet, feel free to share that. And the next two is sort of don't take it personally and avoid assumptions. In the same way that you guys get really busy, your mentors might get really busy as well. So, if they're not being responsive for one reason or the other, again, don't take it personally and don't assume anything. Let me know and I'll get in contact with them and try to find out what's going on. And this normally isn't an issue. Sort of my job today is to kind of help prepare you for good scenarios and worst case scenarios, right? And so this isn't typically an issue with our mentors, but if for some reason, you're not getting a response, again, don't take it personally. Let me know and I will help you find out what's going on. And I think I already mentioned this a lot today, but don't be afraid to ask questions. That's what they're there for. And, to your question earlier, you don't have to stick to just the prompts. So if you have additional questions, additional things that you want to talk to your mentor about, ask them. They'll be happy to get those and they'll be happy to answer those for you.
If we have questions, do we email them? The address that was for this?
Yeah, so if we have questions, you email me. There you go. So you can call me. That's my direct line here at the office. And most of you have probably received emails from me already, but just in case, there's my email address again. It's agodinez@hsf.net. So that really sort of concludes a more formal part of the training. Will be Alex and I now can just answer any questions that you might that you'll have. So we'll just monitor the Q&A and the chat for a little while, and I'll address any questions. But if any of you have class and you need to run to class or run to work or anything like that, you are now free to log off if you don't have any more questions. I'll be in touch. We're working on getting all of the mentors sort of through background and trained and all of that stuff. And so we got a good chunk of them have already completed. I still have another group that I need to follow up with. And so we're hoping to have you paired up within the next 2 to 3 weeks.